Many people are familiar with the four main exposure settings on their mode dial, namely Program, Aperture Priority, Shutter Priority and Manual. These sit alongside the Auto and Scene options and provide the photographer with varying levels of control over exposure settings. There is, however, another mode that's somewhat hidden and often forgotten about. This option is called Bulb. A bulb exposure is essentially a form of manual exposure where the shutter speed is longer than what's normally allowed by the camera. Because of this, it's useful for many occasions where you need to have the shutter open for a long length of time, perhaps when shooting fireworks or star trails, or when using filters that significantly cut down on the amount of light entering the lens. Some cameras have this mode accessed via a B setting on their mode dial, although many offer this once you go past the longest shutter speed that's otherwise possible in the manual mode, which is usually 30 seconds. Once enabled, you don't set the shutter speed as you normally would. Instead, you have to start the exposure and then stop it again once the time has elapsed. In order to end up with a good result, the same kind of rules that apply to long exposures apply to bulb exposures, although there are some additional ones to bear in mind. For example, while you can safely use the self-timer option for triggering long exposures, in the bulb mode, the need to end the exposure in some way means that a remote release of some kind is necessary. Otherwise, you'll need to physically come into contact with the camera while the exposure takes place, and this can introduce camera shake into your images. You can either use a wired remote release, which plugs into the side of your camera, or alternatively a wireless one, which will typically require a line of sight to the camera's infrared receiver. This may be on the front of the camera, although more advanced models may offer a secondary receiver on the back. Make sure your camera is set to the option that recognises that a release is used, and if you can set it to the option that locks the mirror up first, this should help to minimise any camera shake. Once you've calculated how long you want your exposure to be, and you have some way of monitoring this, release the shutter by pressing the button on the remote release. Some remotes may require you to hold this down, while others will have the option of locking this for the duration of the exposure. Wireless remotes will typically allow you to press the button once to start the exposure, and once again to end it. Once the time has elapsed, simply release the locking mechanism or press the button on the wireless remote release, and this will end the exposure. For more tips and advice, subscribe to our channel, visit us on Twitter, Facebook or Google+, or check out wexphotographic.com/blog.